Everybody hear me? Back in my earlier years, I used to be able to give a talk like this with no notes or written speeches. If I tried to do it now, I'd probably forget my own name. So if you would permit me, I'd have to read my speech. Thank you, Gloria, for introducing me and also what you do for the West Tech community and alumni. I told her that I don't usually consider myself high maintenance, but of course, if you ask my wife, she might say something a little different. But because of this COVID thing, I think it got to be a little annoying when it came to the logistics of the evening, and Gloria was so patient with me. Thank you. I want to thank my sister Bernie, a 65 grad, for nominating me. If there was a secret service just for lay people, she would be in it, as she would take a bullet for anyone she cares about. I want to thank the committee for accepting my nomination and inducting me into the great West Tech Hall of Fame. It's a great honor. I also want to congratulate all the inductees. I'm going to mention some people tonight who have helped me along the way. Coaches, teachers, friends, and family. Some are no longer with us and some are sitting out there in the audience. First of all, I want to thank my West Tech coaches and teachers for the influences they had on me as I navigated my way through the halls of West Tech and beyond. Ms. Joyce Nader, one of the great educators anywhere and anytime. She is also a West Tech Hall of Famer. My coaches, the late great Hall of Famer Art Perchlick, Don Kirk, Vince Dooley, Cliff Gallo, and our head football coach at the time, Thad Hall. According to my recollection, back in June of 1966, West Tech was the biggest school in the state of Ohio. Not only was it the biggest school, but it was also the best school. We had every different course offering imaginable, from horticulture to mechanical drawing to college prep chemistry, and these classes were manned by some great educators. We were also fortunate in the mid-60s to have two of the best individuals at what they did gracing the halls of West Tech. The first is West Tech Hall of Famer, Mr. Larry Chinauskas. Mr. Chinauskas was the absolute best high school basketball coach in the state of Ohio at that time, and maybe the best high school basketball coach ever in the state. When football season was over for me, I used to sneak into the gym just to watch basketball practice. I didn't know at the time what drew me to do that, but as I got older, I realized that it was the coaching style of Larry Chinauskas that put me in that gym. As I think back, I realized that he was a big influence on me becoming a coach, and he didn't even know he did it. And then there was Vic Solowill. Larry Chinauskas described Victor at the time as the best all-around basketball player in the city and maybe in the state. And there were a lot of great basketball players back then, especially in the West Senate. Vic could do it all. The small bandboxes that were gyms on the west side of Cleveland at the time were filled to capacity on Friday nights just to come out and watch Victor play. I started my teaching and coaching career at East Tech back in December of 1970. The East Tech kids were great and still are, but they were tough, and they had to be, as it was the most poverty-stricken area in the city. Initially, I got tested every day. I told a friend of mine that being pretty big and an ex-football player helped me to deal with some of the tough situations. He astutely said that may be true, but the biggest reason you could handle those situations was because of where you grew up. So I think you really can't talk about going to West Tech without talking about what it was like growing up on the west side of Cleveland. I think like most of us back then, our moms stayed home and raised the kids, and dads went to work. I know that's how it was in my family. So we went to school, played safely in the streets, went to the playground, got part-time jobs to help the family, and went to the occasional dances at our local schools. There was also kind of a sure mentality on the west side of Cleveland. Pretty much if you needed something from a neighbor or a friend, you would ask, and the immediate response was sure. How can we help? No conditions. In the movie The Town, Ben Affleck and Jeremy Renner had been best friends since they were 6 years old. In one part of the movie, when they were older, Affleck walks into Renner's apartment, looks at him and says, "I need your help, I can't tell you what it is, and you can never ask me about it later." Renner's response was, "Whose car are we taking?" Once again, no conditions. Every time I watch that movie, I tell myself, I grew up knowing people just like that. If there were a movie about growing up on the west side of Cleveland, it would include people like the late Joe Samari. A June 1966 grad who would drive 15 miles out of his way daily to pick Pat Ginley and myself up for summer football practice, and then after a long, hard day of being on the football field, would reverse the whole process and drive us back home again. Joe never thought anything about it. I've been involved with football in one capacity or another for almost 60 years, and Joe is still one of the best football players I've ever been around. The movie would also include the aforementioned Pat Ginley, a June 1966 grad and a neighbor of mine for 3 years. Pat was a brother and a great friend and an everyday hero. The movie would also include Tony Lazzini, a January 1966 grad, also a football player, and the toughest guy I knew growing up. Anthony was the leader of the Seymour/Walton Boys, a group that hung out on Fulton Road near St. Rocco's and at Seymour Playground. Bobby Gradiak, one of the Seymour boys, described it as the University of Seymour Playground. They were fearless, tough, loyal men. And I say men because they were men before they were boys. They grew up fast and Tony was their leader. Even though most of them grew up together at an early age, they allowed me to become one of them when I went to West Tech. Tony took care of his boys and we followed. As I grew into my profession as a coach and a teacher, I thought back on how Anthony handled the Seymour boys and how that influenced me in my coaching career. He worried about each one of us and would do anything for us. Then there's Tony and Louise Raffin, both June 66 grads. Tony was a St. Rocco boy and a football player and is a prototypical salt-of-the-earth, blue-collar West Side Cleveland boy, a great, hard-working family man. He married Louise Santasuso. Louise was my best friend at West Tech, and all you have to do is talk to her for a couple minutes, and you would think that she was your best friend as well. She's one of those special people that you come across in your lifetime. In closing, I want to say to all the people in here that we all have a job to do. We have to keep the West Tech legacy alive. We have to tell our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren about West Tech High School and what it was like growing up on the west side of Cleveland. We do have help, however. Put your hat on. I do some golfing, and I was out golfing with a friend of mine, and when he walked out of the clubhouse, I said, "Skip, where'd you get that West Tech hat?" It was a hat with the initials WT on the front of it. All I saw was West Tech. It's a Tiger Woods hat. So from now on, when Tiger Woods is golfing and he has a WT insignia on any of his clothes, or you see anyone wearing something with the WT logo, know that it really stands for West Tech. The best high school ever in the city of Cleveland. Once again, congratulations to all of the inductees, and thanks to everyone who was here on my behalf and to the West Tech family. Please stay safe and go Warriors forever. Thank you.